Hey everyone, and welcome back to Timeless. Today we're going to be talking about Pioneer Masters and any of the new cards to Arena that might have an impact in Timeless. What's really cool about this set review is that this set is a 100% reprint set, so we've actually seen all of these cards be played in paper before, so we have an idea of how they're going to play out, and people have already spent a lot of time working on them, seeing if they have combos with things, and we have an understanding of the play patterns, so we can actually, with a relatively high degree of certainty, declare what can and can't be playable in Timeless. In my opinion, this is overall a low impact set. There are no cards that are really going to warp the meta. There are no cards that are really, really high power level, because keep in mind, this is a Pioneer Masters set, so it's pretty much just the best of standard from the last 10 years. And that doesn't really make the cut in a Necropotence Dark Ritual format, Modern Horizons format, right? But there are some cards that definitely could be role players in the right deck. They won't cause the deck to exist, but they definitely could serve a role there. So the first card we want to talk about is Urborg. This is the obvious one. All the mono black gamers are going to put one copy of Urborg into their deck, and they're going to call it deck building. That's it. This is the one card that will guarantee will make it into the meta, just because it is a pretty free roll to put the one copy into your black deck. There's no Cabal coffers or combos with it yet, so we don't need to think too hard about it. Up next, Tome Scour, not Thought Scour. I was talking to Chester on Discord this morning, and he thought I was talking about Thought Scour when I said that this card was coming to Arena, and he got so excited. That was funny. Anyway, so what does this card do if it's not Thought Scour? Because objectively, this card is not Thought Scour. It doesn't draw a card. It seems much, much worse. However, it does have applications, which we can see here. Underworld Breach is a deck in Timeless. It is a good deck that you could even 7-0 the challenge with. I think somebody got a 7-0 with it. The current versions of Underworld Breach are in Gen colors. So red for the Breach, black for the fast mana, and green for some filtering and setup kind of cards. In the past, I'm talking about the distant past, people have done blue-based Underworld Breach decks. And in Modern, in the past, people have done blue-red-based Underworld Breach decks. And Tome Scour is a blue card that enables this sort of deck, just as a 1-mana mill 5. This card is part of an infinite loop that can generate infinite mana and infinite mill, allowing you to win with Thassa's Oracle, which is a much better and more reliable win condition than having to play a Storm card like Tendrils of Agony to try and drain your opponent, because that could get stopped in a couple of different ways. So the way to do this loop is here on screen. I know I'm putting 6 cards at you, and you're probably thinking I'm an idiot for suggesting that you play the 6-card combo in Timeless, but here's the thing. If you have the Breach in play and you Tome Scour to mill yourself, you're going to hit these combo cards as you mill. You really only need like 3 of these to start trying to combo or trying to dig through your deck. And then once you hit a critical mass, then you can truly go infinite. If you didn't know, the loop is like this. Dragon Rage Channeler gives all your non-creatures an extra mill 1. Essentially, you're always going to surveil into your graveyard. So Tome Scour reads mill 6. Mox Amber reads mill 1. So what you do is you Legend Rule your Mox Ambers to mill 1, generate 1 mana. You Tome Scour with that 1 mana. So you are essentially milling 7 for 0 mana right there. And you have to escape 6 cards in order to cast 2 things, so that is positive net mill. And if you want more mana, then you just cast another Mox Amber using the Legend Rule instead of Tome Scouring. So I said it was infinite mana. It's limited by the size of your library, but it's going to be enough to fully mill your library and then generate 2 blue mana at the end to play a Thassa's Oracle out of your graveyard, which is really good. It doesn't need any blue legend in play, but there are some very good blue legends in the format right now, which can enable this. Number 1 is Tamiya, which you're of course going to play if you're playing a Brainstorm deck, and number 2 is Emry, which fits very well into this style of deck. So I'm very curious to see what the Underworld Breach gamers think of this. Unfortunately, the card sucks on its own. It's really not good. So compared to Malevolent Rumble, which the Breach decks have been playing lately, this is very similar. So Tome Scour just throws 5 cards into your graveyard, 6 if you count the Tome Scour. Malevolent Rumble throws 3 cards and itself into the graveyard, so 4, and it puts one of those cards into your hand, and you can also pick which card, and it also gives you mana for later. It's so much better outside of the scope of the combo, right? Tome Scour pretty much does nothing if you're not comboing or planning on comboing very soon. It does absolutely nothing if there's a piece of graveyard hate in play. So it's a really tough sell to convince me that I should run 4 copies of this card, but what's really cool is that running a blue Breach deck does let you play other powerful cards like Brainstorm. It lets you play Permission, like counter spells, and it can help the deck out in other ways. So we'll see. I'm curious what like the Breach experts think about this once they get a chance to play with it, because I'm certainly not a Breach expert myself. All right, up next we have Dark Petition, and on screen I got a deck. This is a deck. So if you guys weren't around for Timeless before Timeless was a thing, this was the best deck that you could put together before DT and Channel got restricted. This is Channel Storm. So the idea is you use Energy Refractor, like that card right below me right here. That card can filter colorless mana into colored mana. So you cast your channel, you cast that thing, and then you kind of flip through your library really quickly, and you have like so many tutors that you just go through the whole library, you play a card, you grab Bolas' Citadel, that kind of BS, you cast Weather the Storm to gain some more life, and eventually like you tendrils your opponent to death. You even play Scheming Symmetry, and this deck is like you're just gonna win on the spot. And this deck was crazy, right? Because it got to run 4 DT, it got to run the channel, it got to run 4 Dark Ritual, though actually this version looks like it doesn't have Dark Ritual. Interesting. Dark Petition piques my interest because it is DT and Dark Ritual stapled together. One of the best cards in the format and a restricted card on the same card. I know it's 5 whole mana, but if someone could put together a deck like this again that just makes like a crap ton of mana and then vomits out a bunch of permanents, Dark Petition would absolutely be a part of that deck. So I'm saying keep your eyes on this card. This card by itself is not going to make this archetype a real thing. But if somebody were to try to put together a Storm deck similar to this again, I think Dark Petition would absolutely be in that deck. It would be a 4 of, and it would really enable that deck. It's also very possible that Dark Petition gets played in other combo decks. We just talked about Breach and talked about Jund Breach being the current way to build the deck, so it's very possible you play Dark Petition and Jund Breach. I don't think it's good enough to really make the cut as a 4 of. I really don't think it's possible it makes the cut as a 4 of, but it could be like a 1 of or 2 of in the deck where you mill it over and you sometimes want to cast it out of your graveyard. Like that, I could definitely see like the Jund Breach players doing that. So this is a card you definitely want to keep your eye on if you like building combo decks in the format. All right, up next is Oath of Nissa, and like I said, low impact format. This list has fallen off pretty quick. Oath of Nissa is very interesting to me because it is a cantrip and it is permanent based. It is previously banned in Pioneer, and this card does need a deck to exist in order to play it, but if that deck existed, this would be a very strong role player. In the Green Devotion deck in Pioneer, this was an incredibly strong role player. It was a filtering spell that also put a permanent and a Green Devotion pip into play. So if there's some deck in the future, like a creature combo deck that cares about permanence and wants some filtering, this could be a card to look out for. This isn't going to have impact on the format right away, so don't worry about crafting this thing. But this is a card that I feel like will be in the deck builder's toolkit, and I might reach for it at some point in the future. Up next is Hidden Strings. I can't wait to watch the arena gamers fumble the bag with this card and make some terrible decks. I've seen some ideas already and they're very interesting, but what's really cool about Hidden Strings is the whole Hidden Strings package, this engine that can generate a crap ton of mana from Pioneer, is now 100% legal in Timeless. And you can do a lot of things when you have big mana in Timeless. So perhaps there is a much more streamlined win condition for this deck in Timeless that allows it to be even better than the Pioneer deck. It's also possible that if you're playing a Lotus Field deck, you can just have other uses for that 3 mana. Like I've seen people suggest Necropotence is a good way to spend black. I don't think that's how you build the deck. I think that's bait. I've seen some people suggest it on Discord every time. I'm like, I don't want to be mean, but I think this is not the way you build the deck. But this is definitely a card to watch considering the whole engine. We have the Lotus Field, the Thespian stage, the cyclers that also untap the land. Like you could do some funny stuff, right? So keep an eye on it. Might not break the format, but I'm very interested because this Pioneer deck engine is here and it is possible that you could improve it for Timeless. So I'm really interested in that. All right, up next, cards that aren't going to make the cut in the format because I think they're pretty redundant with things that we already have. First up is Silence. We already have Orim's Chant, but I think there is a tiny chance this gets played in some amount of copies in like those control decks that try to loop Orim's Chant. I don't think it's going to be a meta thing, but someone might register the card at some point, but because we have Chant, I don't think you're not going to want to craft it. Exquisite Firecraft, I saw some people on Reddit trying to suggest this card's playable. I really don't think so. At 3 mana, we have 1 mana, deal 3 spells. We have several of them. We have Bump in the Night, we have the new Bolt Wave, we have Lightning Bolt itself. So I don't think this will ever make the cut and burn, but like go off King if you want to play burn. Hallowed Moonlight is a Containment Priest effect. We already have Containment Priest, and that card does not see play. I say that, then that card actually was played against me at the Metagame Challenge this weekend, which is funny. First time I'd seen a Containment Priest in months, so it's on my mind. And then lastly, we have Reckless Bushwhacker. We also we have the other Bushwhacker in Timeless now, by the way, if you didn't know that. We got it recently. So now we'll have all 8, but that other Bushwhacker sees no play. You can technically play 8-Whack now, but like, why would you ever do that in an energy format? Maybe we can play 8-Whack with the energy cards. You play Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride, the Bushwhackers, and smack. I don't think so. All right, these are cards that I also just don't think, they probably won't make the cut. I'm in the way of the word cut. Days Undoing, I could not think of a way to make like a profitable Timeless combo deck with that. Like, you know, you gotta win the game after you cast that card and really profit off of it. And like, I couldn't think about it, but it is a pretty powerful effect, Days Undoing, so maybe it's something to think about, but I really don't think this card's gonna have an impact. I think your wild cards are safe. GVP, very famous busted standard card. Very, very high power. Like when this was in standard, it was like $100 card. Like people were playing it in every deck. I don't think it ever really caught on in Pioneer, though maybe my memory is incorrect with that. Yeah, I don't think it entered the settled Pioneer meta. It's not playable in Modern anymore, so I don't think it'll be playable in Timeless. People are going to craft it and people are going to play it, though. Same with like Jace the Mind Sculptor when Mind Sculptor first hit Arena. There's 0 people playing Mind Sculptor today, but people had their fun crafting Furry Jace and playing with him for a few weeks. So the same thing's going to happen with JVP. It's a powerful card, but like there's better things to do in Timeless, so don't waste your mythics unless like you really love playing your silly blue Jace control decks. And if you love those decks, then go off King. You know, I'm not going to stop you. Last, we got a Boggle. Got Gladecover Scout. Cool. I don't know what you're going to do with it, but that's pretty cool. And then lastly, Bring to Light. I know somebody is going to try to make a horrendous Beans deck with Bring to Light in it. They're like going to try to Bring to Light for Omnath or Solitude in Timeless. Don't do that to yourself, guys. Don't do it. That's 5 whole mana, man. By the time you get 5 whole mana, I won the game 2 turns ago playing my actual Timeless deck. Don't do that to yourself. Beans is like a tier 86 deck right now. Bring to Light might bring it up to tier 84. Yeah, I'm joking around. I'm having some fun here. I would be pleasantly surprised if somebody pulled out a good combo deck with Bring to Light, but I'm very, very skeptical that it's going to make the cut because it's 5 mana. All right, lastly, I'm going to leave you with a slide full of fair white cards that I would personally love to play in the format, but unfortunately they have been power crept by our good old Modern Horizons friends and everything else that has been printed in the last 10 years. I know, I'd love to jam Gideons and Spirit of the Labyrinths, but is what it is.